Hi. There's a pressing question that bothers me from time to time, and it's this. Was I right to dump my best friend for how they acted when I needed them the most? Or did I overreact and go way overboard? I always come to the same conclusion. But will you? They say that some friendships last a lifetime, while others serve a purpose and then fade away. But no one ever tells you how to know which is which, or how painful it is when you realize that someone you considered your anchor might actually be the weight pulling you under. This tale could help you find out if you listen to the end. My name is Maya, and until 3 months ago, Eliza had been my best friend since 6th grade. 14 years of shared secrets, inside jokes, and unwavering support. Or so I thought. We'd been through everything together. Awkward middle school years, high school drama, college applications, first heartbreaks, and the daunting transition to adulthood. Throughout it all, I believed we had an unspoken pact. To lift each other up, to champion each other's dreams, no matter how wild or impractical they might seem to the outside world. My dream had always been art, specifically becoming a professional illustrator for graphic novels and children's books. From the time I could hold a pencil, I'd been drawing, creating characters and worlds that reflected how I saw reality, full of magic hiding in plain sight, brimming with possibilities that most adults had forgotten how to see. Eliza had always encouraged this, collecting my sketches, bragging about my talent to anyone who would listen, even helping me set up my first online portfolio when we were 17. "You're going to be famous someday," she used to tell me, eyes bright with certainty, "and I'll get to say I knew you when you were a struggling artist." That's why her betrayal cut so deep, because I never saw it coming, never imagined that the same person who had once been my biggest cheerleader would become the voice that almost silenced my dreams for good. Art wasn't just something I did, it was fundamental to who I was. While other kids played sports or joined debate clubs, I spent hours perfecting my technique, studying the work of artists I admired, developing my own unique style that blended whimsy with subtle social commentary. By senior year of high school, I'd won several local competitions and had even been featured in a regional art magazine. But the real validation came during my second year of college, when a professor pulled me aside after class and said, "You have a gift, Maya. Not just technical skill, plenty of people have that, but a perspective that makes people feel something. Don't waste it." His words became a lifeline during the difficult years that followed graduation, when the reality of paying bills forced me to take a soul-crushing corporate design job. I spent my days creating forgettable marketing materials and my nights working on my true passion, a graphic novel series about a girl who discovers that her drawings come to life, but only when she's brave enough to show them to the world. Eliza, meanwhile, had followed a more traditional path. With her accounting degree, she quickly secured a stable job at a prestigious firm, complete with benefits and a clear promotion track. She bought a condo at 25, leased a luxury car at 26, and by 28 was being groomed for management. From the outside, it looked like she had everything figured out. I was genuinely happy for her success, never feeling an ounce of jealousy. Our lives had taken different directions, but I believed our friendship transcended our choices. When I would show her my latest illustrations, she would smile and say all the right things. "These are amazing, Maya. Seriously, you're so talented." But looking back, I realized that somewhere along the way, the light in her eyes when she looked at my work had dimmed, replaced by something I couldn't quite identify. Until the day everything changed. The catalyst came on an ordinary Thursday evening. I'd received an email that morning that had left me dizzy with excitement. A small but respected publishing house was interested in my graphic novel concept. After years of rejection letters, someone finally saw potential in my work. I immediately texted Eliza, "Big news! Can we meet for drinks tonight?" We arranged to meet at our favorite wine bar, the place we'd celebrated every milestone since turning 21. I arrived first, securing our usual corner table, my portfolio and the publisher's email pulled up on my tablet. When Eliza walked in, I noticed she looked tired, shadows under her eyes suggesting long hours at work, but her smile seemed genuine as she sat down. "So what's this big news?" she asked, signaling the server for her usual Cabernet. I couldn't contain my excitement, the words tumbling out as I explained about the publisher, showing her the email, flipping through my portfolio to point out the illustrations they'd specifically praised. They want to see a complete first chapter by next month, I concluded breathlessly. If they like it, they might offer a contract for the entire series. Eliza, this could be it. The break I've been waiting for. I expected her to squeal with delight, to order champagne instead of wine, to immediately start planning a celebration party as she would have in the past. Instead, she took a long sip of her drink, set it down carefully, and gave me a look I'd never seen before. A mixture of pity and something darker, almost like resentment. "Maya," she said, her voice carrying a patronizing edge that made my stomach twist. "Don't you think it's time to be realistic? How many big breaks have you thought you had? Remember that art blog that featured you, or that local gallery show, or that children's book author who said she'd keep you in mind? None of those panned out. Meanwhile, you're almost 30, living in that cramped apartment, working a job you hate, all for this fantasy." Her words felt like a physical blow. "This isn't a fantasy," I protested. "It's a legitimate publishing house, Eliza. They've published award-winning graphic novels. Did you even look at the email?" "I did. And forgive me for being the only one willing to give you a reality check. But do you know how many talented artists never make it? Art is a hobby, Maya. A nice hobby. But you need to focus on building a real career, something stable, something you can actually build a life on." Her tone had shifted from patronizing to outright dismissive. "Art is my career," I insisted, fighting back tears. "It's not just what I do, it's who I am." She rolled her eyes. "Who you are, listen to yourself. You sound like a teenager writing bad poetry. Who you are is a grown woman with bills to pay and a future to plan for. This whole starving artist routine was cute in college, but now it's just sad. Everyone else has moved on. When are you going to grow up?" I left the wine bar in tears, her words echoing in my head. What hurt most wasn't just what she'd said, but the realization that she must have been harboring these thoughts for years, all while pretending to support me. How long had she been mocking my dreams behind my back? How many times had she smiled and nodded while secretly thinking I was pathetic? The next few days passed in a blur of pain and confusion. I replayed our friendship in my mind, searching for signs I might have missed. Had there been subtle digs I'd chosen to ignore, moments of insincerity I'd overlooked? The more I thought about it, the more I began to notice patterns, the way her encouragement had become increasingly perfunctory over the years, the slight edge of condescension when she'd introduced me as my artist friend, the frequent suggestions of backup plans and realistic options. But worse than the retrospective doubt was the immediate effect her words had on my confidence. For the first time in my life, I found myself staring at a blank page, paralyzed by self-doubt. Every time I tried to draw, I heard Eliza's voice. This whole starving artist routine was cute in college, but now it's just sad. The publisher's deadline loomed, but instead of working, I spiraled into a crisis of identity. If my best friend, the person who knew me better than anyone, thought my dreams were childish and unrealistic, maybe she was right. I didn't respond to her texts in the days that followed. She sent several, first confused, then defensive, and finally angry, but I couldn't bring myself to engage. How could I explain that she had shaken the very foundation of my self-belief, that with a few cutting remarks, she had managed to do what years of rejection letters couldn't, make me question whether my passion was worth pursuing at all? A week after the wine bar incident, I found myself sitting in my tiny home studio, surrounded by unfinished illustrations and the growing weight of despair. My phone buzzed with another text from Eliza. "This silent treatment is really immature, Maya. I was just being honest because I care about you. Call me when you grow up." Something snapped. In that moment, I realized that this wasn't just about one hurtful conversation. It was about a fundamental incompatibility in how we viewed life and what we valued. Eliza measured success in promotions and possessions. I found fulfillment in creation and expression. Neither perspective was inherently wrong, but her inability to respect my choices, to see value in a path different from her own, revealed a crack in our friendship that had likely been widening for years. With shaking hands, I typed out a response. "I need space from this friendship. Your honesty wasn't about caring for me. It was about validating your own choices by diminishing mine. A true friend builds you up, even if they don't understand your dreams. They don't tear you down because your path makes them uncomfortable with their own. Please don't contact me again." I hit send before I could second-guess myself, then blocked her number, removed her from my social media, and sat in the sudden, deafening silence of a 14-year friendship severed. The decision to cut Eliza off wasn't made lightly or in a moment of anger. It came from the painful recognition that some relationships, no matter how long-standing, become toxic when they no longer allow you to be authentically yourself. In choosing between preserving a friendship that required me to shrink myself and pursuing dreams that demanded I expand, I chose myself, perhaps for the first time. My decision wasn't met with universal approval. Mutual friends were bewildered by the sudden rift, many taking Eliza's side when she framed herself as the practical friend who'd only been looking out for my best interests. My mother, who had always worried about the financial instability of an artistic career, suggested I was overreacting. Friends should be able to be honest with each other, she argued. Maybe you needed to hear what she said. But others understood. My younger sister, herself an aspiring musician, sent me a simple text that brought me to tears. Being practical never created anything beautiful. I'm proud of you for choosing your art. My former professor, when I reached out to him for guidance, reminded me that the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. And surprisingly, a few acquaintances admitted they'd always found Eliza's attitude toward my work condescending, even before I had noticed it myself. I sometimes wondered about Eliza's perspective. Did she genuinely believe she was helping me by trying to steer me toward a more conventional path? Was her criticism fueled by concern, or by something darker, perhaps insecurity about her own choices? Had she settled for financial stability at the expense of passion, and did my persistence in pursuing my dreams despite the hardships serve as an uncomfortable reminder of what she'd given up? I'll never know for certain. What I do know is that in the weeks following our rupture, something unexpected happened. I found my creative voice again, stronger and more authentic than before. Without the weight of Eliza's judgment and my fear of disappointing her, I completed the first chapter for the publisher and submitted it before their deadline. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and they offered me a contract for not just one book, but a 3-part series. 6 months have passed since that night at the wine bar. My first graphic novel is in production, scheduled for release next spring. I've moved to a slightly bigger apartment with a dedicated studio space, and while I'm not financially wealthy, I'm making enough from my art, combined with freelance design work, to pay my bills doing what I love. More importantly, I've rebuilt the confidence that Eliza's words had threatened to destroy. Cutting off my best friend was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but it taught me an invaluable lesson. True friendship supports growth, even when that growth takes people in different directions. It celebrates differences rather than trying to homogenize them. And sometimes, painful as it may be, preserving your dreams requires letting go of people who can't or won't see their value. I still think of Eliza sometimes. How could I not, after 14 years of shared history? I remember the good times, late-night study sessions, road trips where we sang at the top of our lungs, holding each other through breakups and family crises. Part of me will always miss the friend she used to be. But I don't regret my decision to end the friendship, because doing so allowed me to reclaim not just my dreams, but my sense of self-worth. So was I vindictive, childish, and mean for cutting off my best friend after she mocked my dreams? Perhaps in her eyes, or in the eyes of those who prioritize loyalty above all else. But in choosing between betraying myself and setting boundaries with someone who couldn't respect my deepest aspirations, I chose self-respect. And that's a choice I can live with. Not just live with, but thrive with, creating the life and art that make me whole. So no, I don't think I'm the one who was wrong. I think I'm someone who finally learned that sometimes the most important relationship to protect is the one you have with yourself and your dreams.
If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content about navigating complex relationships and staying true to yourself. Have you ever had to choose between a friendship and your personal goals? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might help someone else making a difficult decision right now.